What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. I'm on floor 92, map 2 of 3 of Onslaught, and going to do a step-by-step walkthrough on how to win in Onslaught. Now, of course, as many have heard me say before, the way you win in Onslaught is by following the instructions. And what I mean by that are the instructions are all laid out for us on each lane and on each lane billboard. It tells you what to build, and the greater your knowledge of your defenses, for example, what does magic damage, what does physical damage, what is an AoE tower or area of effect tower versus what is a single target tower, things like that are really going to help you along your way into succeeding in Onslaught. So let's go ahead and build it on out. We'll start right over here, and we see this very first flyer lane. We've got EMP Stabby Kamikazes with Pain Aura and Armored. So we see right out of the gates we're going to have two different types of dive bombing flying mobs. We're going to have the regular kobolds, and then we're going to have the EMP kobolds. So this could lead to quite the bit of pain here. And we also know that they're armored, so they're going to take increased magic damage. So I want to stay away from physical damage and add in magic damage. This is not telling me that that's a good idea to do. It's telling me this is what to do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put down two Skyguard towers. One to absorb the EMP and Kobold shots, and the second to take out all the bads. Now, Skyguard towers are magic damage, and how we can tell that is if we just look at the tower in action during a map. If you're seeing white numbers, the tower is doing physical damage. If you're seeing purple numbers, it's doing magic damage. Let me check down here real quick. Of course, it wouldn't be one of my videos without a trip to the pool, so let's jump in the drink there and then get back over here with our second Skyguard tower. Now, that lane is complete shy of a couple of upgrades. Now we're going to head right on over here. Now here we see it's a Psyfrost Lava Zerker Whomper lane. I, of course, am looking at the title at the very top of the billboard. So we know we're going to have Cyborgs, Frost mobs, we're going to have the Lava mobs, we're going to have Berserkers, and Whompers is referring to melee mobs. So any mobs that get added to this lane throughout the course of the map are all going to be melee mobs, unless it's indicated in the name. Like if it had the name Hex Frost Lava Zerker Whompers, we know there's going to be Hex Throwers. Now on this lane, we see we've got Cyborgs, plus we have Frost Orcs. That's the second and the fourth icons down. Now both of those mobs make it very difficult to use ground traps, auras, or nodes without very careful placement. Now, the easiest way around this is just don't use ground traps, auras, or nodes, and then you don't have to worry about it. We also see we've got maximum effort, so enemies have more health and get weaker with each unique source of damage that hits them. So we want to have multiple different types of towers going to take advantage of maximum effort. In addition to that, it has Wall Leech, where enemies will heal when damaging towers. So if the baddies make it to my walls, I'm going to be in trouble. So ideally, I want these guys all dead before they get to the walls, and that is going to allow me to take advantage of Wall Leech, or I guess I should say avoid Wall Leech at all costs. So let's see, what kind of towers do we have? Now, of course, I'm referring to the type of defense itself. Like, for example, I know I'm going to use some Ramsters here, so let's go ahead and get the Ramsters in deck. Now, when I look at a Ramster is a tower. By using all towers, I'm going to negate the effect of the Cyborgs 100%. Now, we also want multiple different defenses, so I don't want to just put a whole ton of Ramsters down here. I want to mix it up and put various different things. So in addition to the Ramsters, I'm going to go ahead and add in, say, a Poison Dart Tower and maybe some Cannonballs. So let's go with a Poison Dart Tower right there, and my Cannonballs currently have really short range, so I'm going to put them slightly in front. Now this is pretty dangerously close to the walls, as anything that does make it to the walls is going to be dishing out some cleave damage onto my cannons as well, or there's a good shot of them taking damage. So ideally, if I would have moved this back just a little bit further, I wouldn't really have had any of that particular issue. Now let's head on over to another section of the map. Let's take a peek here. You know what? I'd love to get a snake down. I don't have my Vipers ready to go yet, but I do have the heal ready to go. So I think I'm just going to throw one here, just because it is a tower, and it's another form of damage, or another unique defense. So that's going to make the enemies weaker once again from maximum effort. Now, when I mentioned be very careful if you want to use traps, auras, or nodes, we do know, of course, we've got the Frost Orcs and the Cyborgs. So let's take a defense like, say, the Lightning Strike auras that have really, really nice range. And I can still put them in a fashion where the Cyborgs will completely ignore those towers. The Frost Orcs, of course, it's an AoE range around them. So there's a good chance the Frost Orcs could still put a slow on those particular defenses. You know what? Let's just go ahead and really deck it out. And I'll put one. Let me move that one back just a little bit further even. Now these are far enough out of the way where I still have range where they're going to be doing damage. However, they're out of range of the Cyborg, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. And this lane is thoroughly overkilled, and I shouldn't have to come back down to it. In fact, I'm going to sell one of these Ramsters just because that's just plain too much there. So let's head on down to the very bottom of the map, and we know we've got this long flyer lane here. Now here we got stabby dragons. That of course is referring to the dragon mobs, and the stabby part is the assassins. Now they've got controlled burn on them, so enemies can only be damaged while drenched, oiled, frozen, poisoned, or stunned. Now I actually got off the hook pretty easy on this one, and the reason being is there are no dive bombing mobs. So I'm going to be able to throw, say, a poison dart tower and a sky guard in the mix over here to handle this lane. Of course, the sky guard is going to do the bulk of the damage, and then the poison dart tower is going to apply the poisoned effect. That way, controlled burn is negated, and those flying mobs can indeed take damage. Alright, here for flyers we've got EMP Dargons, or EMP Dragons, so we know we're going to have a dive bomber, and plus we've got the dragons, which are slow moving. So I'm going to put a Skyguard up here to handle the damage on the dragons themselves, and then any tower will suffice as a decoy for the EMP mobs. I'm going to throw an obelisk right there. I do plan on DPSing on my Mystic, so I should be able to make that obelisk get the job done for me. And then in the lane, we've got Psylava Whompers, which has Spellbreaker. Enemies take reduced magical damage and increased physical damage, and they're lethargic, so enemies start stronger but get weaker the longer they live. Now, since they have lethargic, I'm going to go ahead and build back as far as I feel comfortable doing. And then I'm going to focus really, really heavily on the physical damage. So I'm going to go ahead and bust out my cannons once again, and we're going to load this lane up with some heavy cannonballs to take advantage of that additional physical damage that these mobs will take. In fact, let's just go ahead and go with 6 of them. I think 6 of them will get the job done. There are 90 mobs down there, so there's quite a few mobs coming. And you know what? I might even want to have a little something in just to thin the pack out a little bit. The reason being is we see there's 90 mobs there. Well, there's 65 of them are the little baby goblins. Those we're going to be able to take down with just about anything. And I want to take advantage of getting them thinned out a little. That way the cannons have less distraction and will hit the tougher mobs. Now I'm going to go with some fissures just right up top here. Let's go with 3 of them. Now, of course, these fissures are going to be dealing out reduced damage, but since all I really need them for is to thin out those 65 little baby goblins, they should be able to get the job done for me. Then, of course, we know this map particular, if there's a Malthius or a mage, there could be skeletons that spawn and come down to this core. So I'm just going to put a cannon right there as a kind of a safety cannon. Now here we've got Geo Lava Guard throwers. So we've got geodes, we've got the shieldies, we've got some kobold, ground kobolds, we've got some throwers. So coming right out, we've got javelin throwers, and then we've got the Molten Guardians. Are the lava part of that name. Now these enemies are phased, so they move slower, but they phase through blockades. So since they phase through blockades, there is no point in putting any blockades at all, as they're going to ignore them and walk right through them. Now we also see we've got proximity. The closer a source of damage is to an enemy, the more damage it deals. Now proximity is going to be just ideal for ground traps. So I'm going to go ahead and load the ground up here with all sorts of goodness. Let's get some lightning strikes as well. And then plus the enemies are moving slow from the phased, so they're going to spend more time inside of my little damaging ground setup. Let's go something like that. Then we'll go something like that. And then, I believe, I'm going to go Lightning Strike Auras all the way up. And I like to put a Lightning Strike Aura pretty far back. So if just one straggler mob makes it through, there is something back here to hit it before it gets to the core. And then let's get something in to take care of those 42 shieldies. So let's throw some fissures down for that. Let's see. I think that will probably be good. And then move over, let's collect the rest of this mana up and get the rest of the map built out. Now this is a long video, I do apologize, but I wanted to go step by step through this process so everyone could see exactly what I think when I'm building out these various maps. Now, we do have hex throwers. Now the hex throwers are going to come out and immediately throw at that core. Now to avoid that, I'm going to go ahead and just put a reflect beam right there, and that will help me avoid any sort of core damage there. This lane has no throwers, so I'm not going to worry about that core. Okay, and then we've got Bullet Sponge. Enemies have a small anti-projective shield. Unstoppable. Enemies are immune to slow effects. Then we've got Brittle and Vampiric. Now, this particular map, I'm going to go ahead and throw... I'm going to throw walls in, but I'm going to put the walls kind of down where they're just really a last resort. They're not doing anything. I do have Vampiric on the one set of walls, so I want to make sure that the enemies have no chance of getting to the walls. And, you know, I think I will just freeze them out right up front. So I'm going to load the spawn up with proton beams. And these are proton beams with freeze, of course. And that's going to just dish out the CC right out front as soon as they walk out. And then let's see, I've got some Lightning Strike Auras. Let's get some of those guys down. And then let's get, once again, we'll get some fissures down here as well. I think I'm just going to put 3 of them there. And that should get the job done for me. And that leaves me 290 DU for this last lane. Now, this last lane is Zerker Whompers, so it's Cyborgs, regular Orcs, and then the Zerker aspect of it, which is the Berserker or Lady Orc. And then we have Longshot and Enraged. Now, Enraged, the enemies start weaker. That would encourage you to do a spawn camp. However, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to spawn camp this map with the Zerkers coming out because they're going to be rushing out, plus with Longshot. So I'm going to do the best I can to take advantage of that, and I'm going to go with 2 walls. You know what? Let's just go ahead. We'll try to get them right out of the gates. And then only 10 mobs, so not a whole lot of mobs to worry about. Since it's a low mob count, I don't have to worry as much about AoE defenses, and I'm going to focus on just some heavy-hitting single target defenses. So I've already got Lightning Strike Auras in the mix. Let me go ahead and add some cannons into the mix as well. and just get some real heavy hitters going right out of the gate. Since there's such a small mob count, 5 cannons will be able to just wreck right through that. Now there is 80 left, and lightning strike auras are single target and they have big range, so it's not perfect. However, it is going to be a considerable amount of damage if I put those just as far out as I can, which is also putting them, of course, out of the cyborg range. You know, can I get another one there? That one's a little questionable there. And that is it for the DU. Now I've got 400 left over, of course, on this map. Let me run around and get it spent up here, and then we'll get the map running. Definitely going to put it into the Sky Guards, as I just don't want to have to worry about the air at all on this map. Now, as I mentioned earlier over here, I kind of got out easy on this controlled burn lane, but I am going to just go ahead and up both of those. And looks like that does it. So let's go ahead and get the map started here. Now I'm going to do most of my fighting here right on this big main middle lane, just because I like to. I think it's fun. But of course you should always keep an eye on the mini-map and go to the lane that appears to need the most attention. So right now everything is getting burnt down pretty effectively. I do want to check on the flyers. I've got flyers. Actually, those flyers just evaporated before I turned around. Let's look at the controlled burn flyers. It looks like the first one anyway dropped out of the sky, and the next one did as well, so we're in good shape there. So I'm just going to continue to sit here. Since I've got this lane set up as a spawn camp, I want to do the most I can to stay safe, yet try to keep the mobs inside this damaging defense area. So there's obviously a large area right up front here that's dishing out the pain, and I want the mobs to spend all their time right there. Only 6 mobs left. Here come our assassins finally. And always making sure I go to a good assassin killing area when I know they're coming. Of course, any area that has multiple defenses that will hit ground and flying mobs are in good shape. That's why I chose the cannons right here. I did end up losing an obelisk. I'm assuming I lost that obelisk to range mobs. So I'm going to move it back just a little bit. Instead of putting it right on the end like that, I'll put it maybe like right there. Do want to get one upgrade on that bad boy. Let's get these fishers upgraded. Not enough juice left on that one. Now, basically, my upgrade priority is looking at 2 things. First off, I want to look at where the bosses are coming from. We've got a Yeti coming out of the middle, and I want to upgrade either where the bosses will be or where I want to avoid. Now, this bottom lane, I really don't want to run down here. Ideally, I'd like to complete the map without coming back down here at all. So I am going to get a full round of upgrades on everything down here. These fishers, I'm going to get those all nice and juicy. And then I'm just going to kind of work my way up. So this lane would be next. As if I don't want to go down there, there's probably a pretty good chance I don't want to come here either. So I'm going to get that one squared away next. And since I did nothing where the boss lane is, that is where I'm gonna fight it out. This map does take a while to build, however the mobs do come out really fast. So even though it does take a few extra minutes of build time, the map itself runs pretty quick. I know a lot of people say they don't like to do this map because of the amount of time it takes to build it. However, the mobs come out so fast, it's almost a wash there. You can get this map done pretty darn quickly once you get it built out. We're looking good here, and I'm just going to continue to spam into these guys. Alright, here comes that Yeti. So let's definitely get some damage in on the Yeti. As soon as he peeks out a little further, I'm going to go ahead and stun him up with my kitty cat pet. Oh, that's right. I believe these enemies can't be stunned. was it slowed? I don't remember. Regardless, my my Sparkle Party did not work, but the Yeti's still going down fast. Looks like we've got a couple of assassins. Just let them die off and away we go. Now, as I mentioned, I don't want to come down here, so I'm going to go ahead and finish upgrading this lane, getting everything down here at least to tier 2. With some of the defenses like the Fissures, they of course get their greatest benefit the more you upgrade them. So I will put a little extra into those. And then 350 left. This is another boss lane again. Let's go ahead and drop a few upgrades on these Fissures too, just because, like I mentioned, the Fissures do get, out of what I've got on the map right now, the Fissures definitely get rewarded for lots of upgrades. And let's see, there we go. Get at least one up on each of those cannons. And then get back to business right here in the main lane. The Mystic is definitely a very powerful spawn camper. The Dryad can do a great job spawn camping. The Abyss Lord is kind of the king of spawn camping. Lots of good choices for this type of playstyle. It is a bit on the risky side. I like it because it makes the maps go a little quicker. If, of course, the quicker you can kill the mobs, the faster the map is over and you can get to the next map. So if I can get away with it, I'm going to try to spawn camp like this really as often as possible. And here comes the Shieldy. Right. Oh, he froze right as I stunned him. That's alright, he spent plenty of time in those Fissures, so that got the job done. And they are burning away. Now, as you all notice, I haven't run to this side of the map since it started. Now, part of that was because I really overbuilt these lanes. But the other part of that was I kind of had my upgrade priority in. I wanted to make sure I got the other side of the map squared away first. However, although this lane is really overbuilt, I am going to throw a couple of upgrades in, and then I'm going to check my mini-map for any areas that might need attention. Of course, now we're coming up on wave 4 and wave 5, so the challenging waves are here, and we see I've got something blinking red down here. I'm assuming that is my obelisk. Yes, it is. So let's go ahead and throw another upgrade on that obelisk, get it all squared away, and then I've got 500 left. Let's see, this is a boss lane this time. Let's go ahead and get a round of upgrades here, since it is going to be a boss lane. And then we'll get it started. Now, of course, you know, I say, like I said right at the beginning of the video, is just follow the instructions. Now, of course, that's coming from a veteran player who knows what all the mobs are and what all the mobs do. So it's important to go through the trials, learn all of the mobs in the game. Of course, the incursion mobs are in Onslaught as well. That's where all the frost mobs come from. So if you already know the mobs from trials, it makes life in Onslaught a lot easier. You know to stay away from the ground traps, R's, and nodes with a cyborg. Or you know not to spam cannonballs everywhere if there's geodes. All those little things, you know, veteran players like myself, of course, we take it for granted because we already know. But that's all part of the learning process, and that's really learning the game. Once you learn your enemies and you know what's coming at you and what they can do, it makes beating the game so much easier. Now, I do have a siege roller coming. I should probably come give it a little bit of attention down here on this wallless lane. And I think I will just beat it up manually. Good old-fashioned walloping. There we go. Alright, and then now wave 5 is coming. At this point, the map is pretty much completely overkilled. Of course, you know, depending on the bosses come, it's not necessarily a good sign to go AFK or anything. However, with my assistance, what's currently out should win the match. However, I do have 900 mana left, so might as well spend it. And you know, since I'm spending so much time right here, let's go ahead and get this area just really, really juicy. And it'll allow for a quick and easy wave 5. I've got enough for 3 more proton upgrades. Let's go ahead and get those in. And away we go here. Of course, as soon as the geode's down is when I start my ranged attack. I don't want to be spraying those out while the geode is there without going inside of it. The geodes, of course, are one of the easiest mobs to counter just because they're so obvious that they're there. Plus, it seems only natural. It is a big old bubbly shield. You know, even not understanding any of the mobs, you're going to know that a big old shield is a bad thing. And you're going to want to either get rid of it or go through it. And they are burning away. Just about there. And that is what this is, floor 92 now. So after my next map, I actually get to unlock the floor 92 flares, which I am pretty darn excited about as well. I'll make sure to get that recorded, as there's some cool looking flares and I'm looking forward to getting them. And it is only 1 map away. We got lots of flyers left. Get these assassins right over top these protons. They're easily handled that way. A few more flyers. You see my obelisk is dropping down there, but 1 mob left, so I could really care less. And there we go. So there is a floor 92 win in the Buried Bastille. So thank you very much for watching. Click that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I know I did promise everyone that I was going to start redoing the hero spotlights tonight. I actually had several disconnect issues that made me just take a break from the game for a little while. So I didn't get those started tonight. However, I will get new and improved hero and defense spotlights done over the course of the next month or so. So thank you once again. I'll see you next time.